The first loss is never fun. Nobody likes it. Nobody likes to lose. We went 3 whole weeks. 1, 2, 3. That's this many weeks. We went this many weeks without having to deal with it. And we almost went 4. But unfortunately, our center forgot how to play football and the defense forgot how to play defense. So this weekend, the Pittsburgh Steelers fell to a record of 3-1 at the hands of the Indianapolis Colts. Not to Anthony Richardson, mind you, to Joe Flacco and the crew. Joe Flacco, who is ancient, like 600 years old at this point. I don't even actually know how old he is, but he's old. He's been in the league
Yeah.
for a while. So we lost to Joe Flacco and the crew. We lost to a Colts defense that was ranked in last in most categories. Um, and yeah, we just did not look good. So we're gonna break that down here. I think I got a lot to say this week. I'm gonna be honest, and I'm sure Zach does too. But after the first loss, people tend to overreact, so we're gonna see what happens there. Welcome back to Two Steelers Fans in a Pro Football World. That's right, Zach. I'm doing the intro this time. Like I said, I got a lot to
What?
say. My name is Dill.
And I'm Zach.
We are here to bring you all of the news from the NFL and the UFL. Just the NFL today. And today, we're breaking down that loss. We're going to take it step by step. We're going to figure out what went wrong, might talk about why it went wrong, or might talk about how we can improve it. But the one thing that I'm going to start with, we're going to get to the offense in a second, because that seems like it's a little more of an in-depth thing. I want to talk about this defense before we do anything else.
What defense?
This defense,
What
number
de-
one defense in the league, huh?
What defense?
Yeah, the number one defense in the league going into this week, Zach. The number one that's this. That's this number right here. This one. It's by itself. You understand that? 8.6 points a game. We were number one in rushing. We were number like 3 or something in score. I mean, we were great. Great defense. And you knew right from the opening drive when Anthony Richardson torched our corners that it was going to be a long game for the defense. I don't know what happened. We just forgot how to play. That the very last drive, maybe not the last drive, but one of the last drives that the Colts had at the end of the game, they converted 3 or 4 third and 10 plus. That's ridiculous. Converting that many third and longs is absurd. The pass rush, non-existent for the majority of the game. Fourth quarter, it got a little better, but for the vast majority, no pass rush. No pressure was put on Anthony Richardson or Joe Flacco. The run defense, what run defense? Jonathan Taylor was running it through our throats. All right. Half our team is in the hospital because they still got pieces of Jonathan Taylor stuck in their throats. All right. I mean, the guy was just all over us. And to make everything worse, TJ Watt just was non-existent. That brother just decided, I don't think I've ever said this before. That brother just decided not to show up for a football game. That you know how bad things have to be for the defense where TJ Watt isn't even showing up? It was bad, man. It was bad.
It was. It was. And that's the thing. I mean, I was watching TJ on every play, just like, all right, where is he? Is he getting past the like what's going on? And he just, I mean, he just couldn't go anywhere. And now I've said this a million times. You cannot stop TJ Watt legally. It's just not possible. And yeah, if you watch the game, there's holding calls pretty much every play. Um, but the thing is that we've talked about this a million times. 9 times out of 10, or 9 games out of 10, TJ's still able to get pressure, still able to get sacks with this happening every time. And he still wasn't able to do that. And that's where I'm like, okay, we can complain about the holding calls all we want. This happens in every single game. At this point, you can't make excuses for it. He's still been dominant with all these holding calls. Imagine if they actually called it, is the first thing
Well,
I'm going to.
I mean, it would just be the offenses would never get to go anywhere because they're just holding him the whole time. I mean, the
Or they
game
get
would go on for
that.
forever. And
Right.
again, you can't use that as an excuse because, like you said, everybody holds him the whole game, and he still just rips through O linemen and gets the quarterbacks. Like this
Yeah.
has not been an issue for him. So I know it's not the holding. I don't know what it was. It was just
Right.
he just had an off day, man.
And
I don't know.
what I'm wondering is, and this might not be just for TJ, but it could be a factor for the entire game. Um, and obviously, this doesn't explain everything, but I think the loss of Alex Highsmith hurt our defense a lot more than a lot of people thought it was going to. I mean, Nick Herbig came in for him great at the end of the Chargers game, but that was only for a quarter. I mean, you're talking about starting an entire game without your number 2 rusher and just one of your best players on defense. I mean, so many people in the comments of all these Steelers things are like, Alex Highsmith is out, but it's fine. We got Nick Herbig. He's been doing amazing. And it's like, yeah, but Nick Herbig is a small guy. That's the reason why he's a good pass rusher, is because he can sneak past that offensive lineman. He can just beat him on speed. That doesn't help you in the run game. What helps you in the run game is being big, being able to swallow up those holes, being able to, make an impact. You know why Jonathan Taylor was running down our throats every time? Because every time that we put TJ Watt, even in a different spot on that line, Jonathan Taylor ran to another spot. I mean, if TJ Watt was starting on his main spot on the left side, they just ran on the right the entire time. I watched a play where they moved TJ over to the right to try and confuse him. What did they do? They ran to TJ's normal side and got like 7 yards. They figured that out. And obviously, this is something that we're going to have to go through next week because Alex Highsmith is still going to be out. Luckily, we're going against, the ancient Ezekiel Elliott, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal. But, that's what we've said before. And this can't be an excuse. This can't be, okay, well, we don't have to change anything next week because we're going against an easier running back, because that's something that the Steelers have done before. They have to think, okay, this is why we got gashed. How do we fix that no matter what running back we're going against? Because again, I mean, we missed TJ Watt in the playoffs last year. That was a big reason why why we lost. It's happening in the regular season already. How can this team come back from injuries? And there's a lot of other things that we can talk about with injuries going into this game. But
The thing is, losing Highsmith, you can use that as an excuse for why the D line was terrible and why the D line was struggling. That doesn't excuse the corners and the
that's true.
secondary,
That's
which was
true.
just getting torched. I watched them run that stupid crossing route probably 16 different times, and they just didn't stop it a single time. It was always the same thing. Pittman would run up, I don't know why I keep saying one instead of run like a normal person. He'd run up, he'd run out, always past the line, and he always got hit. He had like what 10-ish receptions, I think. I guarantee you probably 8 or 9 of those came on that same stupid route. It was so
Yeah.
annoying. Like, how do you not account for that? How do you not account for Michael Pittman, brother? He's the best receiver they have on the roster. I mean, it was
He's
a
really
total
one of the only.
collapse on,
Yeah.
huh?
I said he's really one of the only receivers they have on that roster.
Yeah, who's it, like Akers or I don't even know who they have. But it's
I guess
like,
Alec Pierce and
yeah,
Josh Downs.
Allen Pierce maybe.
Um,
Pierce is definitely the name.
yeah.
In any case, so the secondary has no excuse. The secondary's got no injuries. All right, I can think of one play where the secondary, and it was the Minka penalty, where the secondary did its job and then they just got screwed over. Okay, but that's one play. Those happen a lot. People get screwed on one play a lot. That doesn't excuse the rest of the game where they got absolutely torched over and over and over again. All right, so like what I don't understand. Joey Porter did not look like himself, man. He just, I don't know, he was just getting absolutely smoldered. He was
Well,
getting scorched.
that's the issue, is that Joey Porter was the one that was supposed to be on Pittman, and we have not seen him get torched this much in a game. The only one close was when DK Metcalf went for, I think, 60 or 80 yards on him in the Seattle game last year. Um, but
Right.
that was mainly on two or three like really long completions. So in reality, this is probably Joey Porter Jr.'s worst game. And it was a heck of a time to do it because, Dill, I believe you mentioned it in the podcast that unfortunately we weren't able to get up last week. But like, this was a huge test game for us because it's not just that, we went against semi easier opponents, and, you know, Indianapolis was kind of in the middle, but you could see it as a little bit of a trap game. The biggest issue is that Indianapolis was an AFC rival and could be a playoff rival or a playoff
We'll be
contender.
fighting them for a
Fine.
playoff spot in January. And so
Right,
this loss is going to be really annoying when it comes to that. And I think
right.
the Chargers are going to be the same way, which is why it was so nice to get a win over them because
Mm,
we'll have that head to head.
right.
So,
So, yeah. I mean, overall, luckily, we're still at the top of the division and we're still close to the top of the AFC. But the other issue is that, we went from having 2 games ahead of most of the division, or of all of the division, to now only 1 game ahead of the Ravens, who look like Super Bowl contenders right now, which when they
well, they went
face
against the
us,
Buffalo defense. Buffalo's got
right,
no running defense.
Right. And I mean, going against us, it's always going to be close. You have no idea what's going to happen. But it's still, when it comes down to their record at the end of the year versus our record, who knows? Because, I mean, that's the big thing. Um, so this was a tough loss to take. Um, and I know you did mention that call against Minka, and I completely agree with you. Our secondary was trash and should have been significantly better through the whole thing. And I know a lot of people are commenting on it that, if it weren't for some terrible calls by the refs, we would have won that game. And it's like, yeah, you're right. But if it wasn't for terrible play by the defense and a really slow starting in by the offense, and finally, when we had that chance to win, major miscues on the offense, we also still would have won that game. So yeah, there were some major calls that majorly altered that game. 100%. They were bad calls. Refs have always hated us. Whatever. There were also terrible calls in the Atlanta game. Probably more so in the Atlanta game than
Oh, for
in this game.
sure.
And we were able to come away with the win. Why? Because our defense was disciplined, our offense was disciplined enough to win the game. That did not happen today. And I'm glad though that it happened early enough that we can correct it and that we had so many great moments in that third and fourth quarter that give me hope for the future. So I'm going to use that. I really don't want to talk about this defense anymore because it's just going to make me mad. So I'm going to use that as our segue into the offense. The offense came out terribly. We had 3 points in the first quarter.
First
In the
half.
first half, that's right. 3 points in the first half. Second half, we had 21. It's a pretty good turnaround. Now, if we did that consistently throughout the whole game, that would have been great. But that's the response that I like to see coming out of the half. That's the response that I like to see when, okay, we're down by this much. What do we do? Because again, if we had a response like that in the playoff game last year, we might have been able to win. Or at least do better than what we did. It's we've always been able to rally to, if we're down close in the past, say we're down by 3 points, Kenny Pickett will magically run us down the field and get us a touchdown. Now it's okay, we're down by 17, we're down by 20. Something that no quarterback could do or get us back from since Big Ben. And finally, we have a glimpse of a quarterback that can do that with Justin Fields. Um, I think that's something that's was really hopeful for me. And if our defense gets back to its first three levels or first three games to that level of play, we should be playoff contenders. That's the good that I'm taking out of it. Kind of what's keeping me from overreacting at this point. But Dill, I want to hear your thoughts on.
Yeah. I mean, it's this is the offense growing and developing and working out some of the
100%.
kinks and whatnot. As much as it sucks, those miscues are also part of that. They're part of the offense still figuring itself out. They're gonna be good. I mean, the second half of this game absolutely showed that. When they find that rhythm, they can really make some stuff happen. The problem is finding the rhythm. They have been really, really struggling to do that. And the one game they actually managed to is the game the defense doesn't show up. Complementary football is huge. There's going to be games where the offense is off, and there's going to be games where the defense is off. It's up to the other to respond whenever one of those is off, you know? And I think that expecting the offense to respond right now is still a little bit much. Maybe, another 2, 3 weeks, and that might change. Um, but because they are still finding their rhythm, But I think even still, like when put in a position to win that game, which the offense absolutely was, even in spite of all the defensive stupidity, stuff like the botch snap, man, it just can't happen. I mean, it just cannot happen. And I understand there's like, rookie center and new QB, all these things, but like, come on, that's just basic stuff. That is actually as basic as it gets when you're a center. So don't get me wrong, I do like Frazier a lot. He's a great blocker and significantly better than whoever we had before. Um, but the botch snaps that needs to be addressed like immediately. That needs to be fixed immediately. That cannot wait.
100%. And speaking of offensive line, it does not help that we lost our other starting guard, James
Yeah,
Daniels.
Daniel's out for the rest of that sucks, man. That's
Hmm.
really tough.
Yeah. Now, Mason McCormick apparently when he came in um, was doing really, really well. Um, so that was good. I didn't quite see it. I thought our guards were letting up a lot, but if you look at, I guess, like the official pass grades, he only allowed one pressure on like 40 some snaps that he's taken. So I'm like, it's
Yeah.
not bad. Which I mean, that's actually really solid. Spencer Anderson, uh, as much as I don't want to speak ill, he's not good. He's not good.
No, he
But
kind of got
yeah,
cooked.
yeah, but he's only filling in for Isaac Simalu, who apparently has a very good chance of starting in the Dallas game. And if he doesn't start in the Dallas game, starts the game after, and that'll be good because, again, we should have him for that gauntlet. Um, and what's I think better is that we have him for a couple games before the gauntlet to get in some games to get that comfort back. Um, which should be really good for us. But I I mean, obviously, there's a lot of stuff to address on there's discipline all over the place that I think just needs to be a little bit fixed. George Pickens losing that fumble was really
Yeah,
annoying.
I don't know what he was thinking, man. Just go out of bounds. You don't
Exactly.
need to you didn't need to do that.
And we kind of saw something similar to that in the Falcons game. He had the chance to go out of bounds and then decides to run a little bit farther and almost cost us getting points before the half. Um, it's stuff like that. It's like, this is going to sound really stupid to a lot of fans who, and I don't know if you have, but who haven't played games like this, but like when you play something like Retro Bowl or Madden Mobile, they actually say in like the initial things, it's like go out of bounds because you have less chance of fumbling the ball or doing something like that. It's like, but it's actually a good rule of thumb for the game. At least like there's some points that obviously you want to stay in bounds. You want to try and run out the clock or something, or you want to try and fight for that first down. But that was not a point where we needed to do that.
Nope.
We had plenty of time on the clock. We had plenty of chances. He already had the first down. He didn't need to try and stay in bounds and fight for that goal line. He just needed to get the first down and run out of bounds. And I think it was just kind of the idea of playing hero, which in some cases is great. That was not one of those cases.
That was not the time for it.
Yeah. Um. I wondered. I guess this is my version of a pickles pondering right now, but saw a lot of people complaining about Najee Harris. His 18 some
18 rushes and 9 yards.
yeah or something like that.
Yeah,
Um.
against
But
the 31st rushing defense in the league. It's
but
not great, man.
Right, right. But he also had that catch for 32 yards that set up a key touchdown for us. And so many people are like, well, Patterson's running back. I kind of want your thoughts on our running game and because I know my opinions on Najee. But I'm wondering that because I feel like a lot of fans are overreacting about that as well.
I'm not. I've never been worried about Najee Harris. He's 1,000 yard. I mean, he's not going to be like the greatest to ever do it, but he works. He does what he's supposed to. I think he just had a bad game.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody had a bad game. So I'm not going to hold it against him. Um, I know Patterson rushed for more yards. I couldn't tell you why that happened. Um, but the reality is that it did. I don't know. Like, because Najee's not flashy like a bunch of the other backs. So people get upset when he doesn't make the flashy plays. He does what he's supposed to most of the time. Again, save for Indianapolis where everybody wasn't doing what they were supposed to. He does what he's supposed to, and I'm okay with that. We have bigger issues right now than our running game.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. Again, he's been consistent. He's really the only consistent part of our offense recently. I mean, a lot of people would like to say Muth, but he wasn't consistent last year. He really wasn't. He was injured at the beginning of the season, and then Didn't really do much for the rest. Najee's consistent. The only player in the NFL with over 1,000 rushing yards in the last 3 seasons consecutively. Um, I think the biggest thing is people see Warren with the explosive plays and Patterson with the explosive plays, and it's because we use them differently. When we have those running backs on the field, the defense doesn't know what's going to happen. When we have Najee on the field, 8 times out of 10, we're probably going to run the ball. And they have the idea. It's like, okay, if Najee's on the field, they're more likely to run it than not. So when we run it, it's less of a surprise. But if we're doing it decently, Najee's still going to bruise. He's an every down back. He will bruise them and beat them and wear them down to the point where the fourth quarter he's breaking for those 20, plus breakout runs. But a lot of people, I think, are also we were talking so much earlier this season about our receiving game. I think they've been, besides George Pickens' fumble, I think they've been better than we thought they were going to be. I think I've personally been pleasantly surprised by it. So I guess my next question to you, Dill, what's more important if we're going to go out and find somebody to replace?
Next question.
I was going to say receiver or offensive line.
Still receiver. Next question.
Really, really.
We have the pieces on the O-line. They're just hurt.
But that's the thing is like we need it. For me, we need a guard because Mason McCormick did well, but we need somebody who's going to do great. George Pickens has been great. Calvin Austin has come out and been very
reliable. Austin has like 120-ish yards on the season.
Yeah, that's more
94 of those came in the Chargers game.
That's more than Brandon
had one good game. Huh?
It's more than Brandon Ayuk has.
Yeah, well, that's because Brandon Ayuk's playing on the Niners offense.
Yeah, with Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, and Deebo Samuel out for a majority of the game.
Because Brock Purdy's not a good quarterback.
I agree.
See, I don't know. This is wow. Brock Purdy all of a sudden can't play in the greatest offense to ever be on an NFL field, and he can't win games. That's a whole other thing. I'm the number one Brock Purdy hater. You will never find a bigger Brock Purdy hater than me. That brother came out of the 7th round, is a very average NFL quarterback, and people treat him like he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Stop it. All right, shut up. If that brother had been drafted anywhere else, it would not have mattered. But because he was the last pick in the draft, people just can't get enough of it. So that's different. That's different.
You know who's a great quarterback?
Sam. Apparently, I don't know. He took some of that Aaron Rodgers Amazon bug juice over the offseason, apparently, because now he's just slinging that thing. He just absolutely, I can't say that word. He just absolutely torched the Packers on Sunday. Yeah. His defense almost let the game slip away, but he torched him. He went crazy.
He did.
Anyway, receivers more important because we really don't have a true number 2. Calvin Austin's a number 3, and that's just how it is. Freiermuth is not there yet. Freiermuth he might get there by the end of the season, but he's not there yet. And even if he did, you need somebody. He's not real fast. You need somebody faster. Freiermuth's big, good goal line target, which they finally figured out with the last touchdown we had on Saturday. Everybody else, yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I don't disagree with the Freiermuth thing. I think Freiermuth plays a lot like Heath Miller, where he doesn't really get going until he's there for 2 reasons besides blocking. He's there for 2 reasons. It's red zone targets and third down targets. And he's great. He 9 times out of 10 he catches the ball. 9 times out of 10 he gets a touchdown in the red zone. He's not Travis Kelce. He's not Sam Laporta. He's, he's a true tight end is more accurate. I don't disagree. I don't want us to go and spend a butt ton of money, give away a bunch of picks for a receiver when there's more important. I wouldn't say necessarily more important, but we shouldn't give a lot away. Is what our receivers have still done a lot better than I thought they would. So I see your point though. I thought that I saw a lot of stuff on Instagram today about that, just like all the fans yelling at each other about it, and I thought it was worth it to bring up in our handy dandy podcast here.
Yeah,
So,
no, I mean, it's fair. I still think we need receivers more, but
do you think we should get Devonte Adams? Because I keep seeing that. If that becomes a new Brandon Ayuk thing, though, I'm gonna smash something.
he's getting old, I think, Devontae Adams. Isn't he getting older? Or am I losing my mind?
30, or no, he's not in his 30s yet. He's 27.
Oh, he's younger than I thought he was. Damn, that ain't
Yeah,
bad.
because this is his seventh, or I think this is his seventh, or no, he might be 28 or 29. But he was drafted into the league when he was like 20, so he was a younger
Okay.
draft. So
All right, fair enough. I don't know. I don't want to pay $1 million for him, but it'd be cool.
yeah,
It would definitely be cool.
yeah, for sure. Um, all right, let's get into the Dallas game because this Colts game is making me upset. Um, Dallas looks
No
like trash.
Micah Parsons. There will not be Micah Parsons.
I didn't realize that. That's nice. Um, yeah, I
At
actually
least
I
that's what
did
people on
watch
the internet said.
I did watch the end of that Dallas Giants game. He got messed up pretty good, which you never like to see that. So obviously prayers up for him. Um, I hate him as a person. He's if anybody's watched any of his interviews with him, he's so stupid. I mean,
He's a
so
character.
he's so
He's a
stupid.
character.
Um, but obviously I respect him. I do think he's very overrated. But again, you never want to see any player, any person go down with an injury like that. I prefer to have him put up terrible numbers than to just not play. So uh, prayers up for him. Hopefully he's back on the field soon, and hopefully TJ Watt's still better. But just even with him, Dallas has looked like trash this year. Like
Yeah, they've not
not
been
even
very good.
yeah, not even trying to like downplay them so I can make myself feel better going into this week. They have genuinely looked like trash.
Yeah.
I mean, they mounted a comeback against the Ravens, but so did the Raiders. So like that's not that important.
Yeah.
Um, but they beat Cleveland, but Cleveland is starting to look like the same old Browns. Um, but they lost to I who is the other one they lost to?
New Orleans. And they got
Oh yeah,
spanked
they
by New
got
Orleans. They got
absolute
cooked.
birds on.
Absolutely cooked by New Orleans.
And they almost lost to the Giants. Like very, very close. Came down to the
Yeah.
last play of the game, almost lost to the Giants.
That's a divisional game, though. Those I always say those are different.
Yeah, you're also talking. I mean, these are the Giants that last year they had like a 40-point different, like plus 40-point differential against them over the entire year. So
No divisional game.
yeah. But regardless, Dallas has just not looked good at all this year. I believe they've allowed the second most rushing yards of any team this year. Um, it has not been good. Their defense has been really bad. Their
Yeah,
offense
it's
has
been
been
rough.
their offense has been decent, but against the Giants defense, which is meh, they allowed like 5+ sacks or something, and their offensive linemen one of their singular offensive linemen had 4 holding penalties
Yikes.
in one game. I'm like, that's Broderick Jones against Denver level. Like, ooh.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah. So I mean, hopefully, and the big thing is it's Sunday night football in Pittsburgh. Hopefully we can get that. But this is going to be another
It's
big
a good
test
it's a good get right game, I think for
for
sure.
sure.
And it'll really prove if our botch against Indianapolis was a fluke. I think
Mm-hmm.
if we win against Dallas, it's safe to say that we are definitely some form of if we win like convinced not like a blowout, but like if the offense looks good and the defense looks good, I think that's enough for me to be convinced that we're like actual contenders and this just hasn't been a fluky start to the season. That would be enough for me. Because Dallas is like on and off, like they're hit or miss, but they're not bad. They're just having a rough start.
For sure, for sure. I definitely agree. Um, yeah, I mean, I think Dallas is going to be fighting for a playoff spot by the end of the year. With how the NFC has been shaking out, will they get it? I don't know, but I think they're definitely going to be somebody fighting for a playoff spot. And the
Agree.
NFC is also just the NFC compared to the AFC is just there's no comparison. It's like what it has
Yeah,
been
they're just
last.
they're a lot
Yeah,
weaker.
yeah. So Dallas fighting for a playoff spot in the NFC. Yeah, they might be weaker than the AFC, but it's still it's like they're going to be fighting for a playoff spot for the entire year because that's just how the NFC is laid out, and that's they are a good team. I mean, they have a top 10 quarterback and a top 3 wide receiver, and when Micah Parsons is healthy, they have a very solid defense more often than not. So
Yeah,
it's going to be something. It's going to be something good. I want to see against those cornerbacks like Deron Bland, Trayvon Diggs, how Justin Fields and our receiving core can do against them because that'll
I
be a
agree.
real test. That'll be a lot of fun. Well, hopefully it'll be a lot of fun.
Ideally.
Right. But Dill,
I think it's hot take time, Zach.
is it hot take time?
I think it's hot take time.
Oh, it's hot take
Give it to
time.
me.
All right. My hot take today. Oh, I gotta find it again. My hot take. We're finally going to get our first rushing touchdown by a running back this year. It's going to come from none other than Cordero Patterson. And that's if he plays, because apparently that's been cast into
I
doubt.
don't think he's going to.
Okay, well, my other hot take is that he's going to play. Uh, no, but I do think we're going to get our first rushing touchdown. Mainly because Micah Parsons is out, and their defensive line is weak. But that's a poor hot take. I'm going to add to it. I believe that we are going to get a total of 4 touchdowns, with 3 of them being rushing touchdowns, and not all of them are going to come from the same running back. We're going to get multiple running backs. And if Cordero Patterson is out, I'm going to double down on, or if Cordero Patterson is in, I'm going to double down on this. All 3 of them are going to come from 3 different running backs.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I've done so many similar hot takes. We gotta throw in one that's a little bit
Yeah,
different.
gotta mix it up. There you go.
Exactly. And even if Patterson is out, I think all 3 of them are going to come from different people. So whether that be Harris, Warren, and Justin Fields, because if Cordero Patterson is out, I'm counting Fields as a running back. We have our own Lamar Jackson, ladies and gentlemen.
We do. That's
He's
true.
just better. That's my other hot take, is that Justin Fields is better than Lamar Jackson. But to hear the full explanation of that, come back next week. So that is it for the podcast today. A lot of just continued yapping, if you could call it that, because that's pretty much just what me and Dill's text chain was after or during the game last week, because we were not happy. But also we've had this speech a bunch of times, but unfortunately through technical difficulties and all kinds of stuff, well, we have not been able to get this officially out yet. So this will be our official first YouTube video on the podcast. Because of Spotify and everything, we are then kind of screwing up our recording software. We are now making our way to YouTube as not necessarily our primary way. We'll still be posting the audio of this onto our podcast, but this is our way of finally getting onto YouTube, which we've talked about doing for a long time. So first of all, it's nice for us to actually kind of be in the same room together. Ish. And it's also
Yes, sir.
hopefully it's cool for you guys to actually see the faces that have been yapping at you for a while. But again, if you guys are finding us on the YouTube for the first time, or seeing us on Instagram, seeing us on anything else, we just the biggest thing that we ask from you guys is to talk to us. We love to hear from you. We love to hear your thoughts and everything, and just chat with you guys, because you guys are the reasons why we do it. But the big thing is we do game picks every week. If you guys want to be featured, let us know on any of the socials, and we will get you on the next game picks. But without further ado, we're going to end this podcast with Steelers fans and every day. Here we go, Steelers.
Here we go.